Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Motivation and That, where we take hot mess to high potential. I'm Natalie, your host, and today I am joined by the amazing Jordan Lansdown. And she is coming to me all the way from across the pond in the UK, in England. And she's going to be here to talk about something that is so near and dear to my heart. And if folks have been around for a few years, you followed me on socials, you know I used to work with a brand in the US that had me join as a plus size ambassador. And it was great for a little bit of time. But as you know, social media is tough. Influencers are tough. We're in a fast fashion world right now. We are so many things kind of taking off. And it's easy to kind of get lost in the mix of how good do you look based on how society has defined what looks good. And I stumbled about a year ago onto this brand called J.Luxe.Fit, and it is built, run, hands-on ownership by the amazing Jordan. And she's been willing to join us today for a conversation about what this journey has been like. And I'm really excited for that because, Jordan, you are a self-starter. You are very honest about how things kind of go in the industry and the ups and the downs and all of the in-betweens. And it's so refreshing to see the involvement, kind of the management, and I can't wait to hear more about it. So, Jordan, tell us a little bit about who you are and how the heck did you end up having this brainchild idea of, I'm going to start a clothing brand and it's going to be different than everything else out there?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on here. It's absolutely incredible. I'm so glad you found us. I suppose a little bit about me. I started JLux in 2020, which feels like absolutely ages ago now. Mainly because I struggled to find activewear as a curvaceous woman. I was kind of on my fitness journey, and I've played sports for a number of years. When I was young, and I've always found myself kind of never really included within kind of activewear brands. I didn't see myself represented, my body shape, and so I've always really struggled with that because when I put on the clothing, you can feel that it's not made for you. It doesn't fit properly. The options are quite limited, and to be honest, the biggest thing for me was when I was running, I couldn't find a sports bra that actually supported me and still looked nice because I remember trying a brand. I think they're a UK brand actually, but they're quite big in the US, or were at the time. And I loved the products; they were great. But then when I actually tried to use them, it was just horrendous. Obviously, boobs were everywhere when I was running, and I'm quite honest here. And that just wasn't an ideal situation. And the only other options I had were very limited, and the styles weren't really what a 20-year-old wanted to be wearing at the time. I wanted to be in the seamless sets like the other girls. I wanted to be able to wear the cute gym sets. And, I was training a lot then. I was running a lot. I was really getting back into fitness after some like health kind of problems that I've had over the years. And so for me, it was purely based on the fact that I had this problem. I couldn't find anything, not one that was in my price budget, and two that actually fitted properly. And so I thought, why don't I do something about it? Why don't I see if I can design something? I had no experience in manufacturing, design. The only thing I did was textiles at school. So I can get on a sewing machine, but I can't say that I'm very good at it. So yeah, I started JLux for that problem, and we're 5 years later, and we're growing an incredible community of women that truly represents every single body. And we empower women to feel confident in their bodies and not to be searching for this kind of perfect all the time, and really encouraging women to move the way that they want to move. And, moving your body looks different for every single person. And I think social media is a place which at the moment is so encouraging of, you know, being this kind of best version of yourself. But I've got a 5 months old child. I've been, I work a million hours a week. I can't always show up as that person. And I feel like it's so pressured to be like that. I wanted a safe space where, I can go to the gym one day, I could swim the next day, and I can be in Pilates, the following day. There was no pressure around like I suppose, being someone that I'm not. Um, and so I wanted to create a community that really just encourages that and encourages women to be supportive of other women as well.
It's very much a feel that instead of having a body that fits the clothes, it's having clothes that fit the body
Exactly.
and that move with the body as needed. And I remember one of the very first photos that I saw was you had everything from, I think, a size extra small to a 3X probably in the photo. You had someone in a wheelchair. You had all kind of different, inclusive factors to consider. And I know we'll talk in probably a little bit about your mom journey and what that looks like. But and what you mentioned about the sports bra, I remember the group I worked with, they said, "We're having a really hard time making a sports bra for large chest." And I'm like, "How is it that hard?" Get some fabric, start fitting people, see what it looks like. But I think you've come up with some really creative ways about how to make pieces that vibe with the different shapes of bodies. So reversible shirts that you can take the bra pads out and swap back and forth. So it's not like you have bra pads on your back if you flip it. Wrap tops that can swap, zippers on things, cinches on things. What have been some of those exploratory factors where you're just like, well, this looks really good, but if we did this extra little piece, it expands what that looks like?
Yeah, and I think for me, I think we're in a world where fast fashion is a thing, right? And so when someone comes to JLux, I really want them to be able to look at that piece and think, do you know what? I'm going to be able to wear that to work. I'm going to be able to wear that to the gym. I'm going to be able to put it on in the morning and wear it one way and put it on, then take it off, swap it round and wear it another way for the afternoon because it's a piece that ultimately they're going to want to keep for years and years and years. And so with all of the pieces that we design, I always say to the team, there needs to be a problem that we're solving. I don't just want to be a company that's just, bringing out things for the sake of it because there's plenty of good brands that do, really good pieces that do that already. I want to be solving problems that real women are having day to day, which is why I consistently ask in our community, what problems do you have? What can we solve? And how can we do that? And and ultimately we go to the design team now. I mean, I'm obviously still heavily part of that, but we've got people in there and I say, listen, these are the community's problems and how can we fix it and what can we do? And then they'll throw a curveball and then I'll say, but we could probably do that, can't we? And they're like, I don't think we can. And I'm like, no, we must find a way. Um, and I think for me, it is the versatility because if you are ultimately putting your money into something that you're buying, you want to be able to utilize it and wear it. And for me, I want people to see the real value in those pieces that they're buying. And so yeah, the versatility and the way things have been designed is always to solve a problem. So the kind of waist cinching technology is what I like to call it. Um, is always something that I think about because for me, I like to have things that are fitted, but I also like to have things that are loose. So it's finding a way to having those kind of in between where it's going to really, you know, enhance the shape that you've got and really make that person feel confident. When we fit our products on multiple different sizes. So we have women of all body shapes that come into the office, they try the pieces on and they're fitted to their shapes to ensure that one, not just that they fit, they feel good in it, they actually like it, they're gonna wear it. And then at that point, we would then put the product into production. So it's quite a long process that actually I found out as I've grown a lot of knowledge is that a lot of brands don't do that at all, which absolutely baffles me because how can you bring a product out which someone a real person hasn't tried on? A lot of it's so done by systems now, 3D systems, but you've had no feedback from anyone to say it might look good on a model on the screen, which is 3D, but if you haven't seen that on a body, you're never going to know really, truly if that's 100% right.
No, it makes sense, and I know you've shown actually when you've got fit models in, and you're you've got the chalk out and you're marking where the bodies go, or even having your mom try the coat on that we'll talk
Yeah.
about in a little bit, and just seeing, hey, all our proportions are different. So no, there are definitely pieces that aren't going to work for everyone, but who's the majority that we can get it to fit?
Yeah,
So
precisely.
well, you mentioned you've got a team of designers now, but it hasn't always been that way, right? So,
Mhm.
when you think back to those starting days, those months, those years, do you remember a moment when you're like, "Oh my god, we're doing this for real"? I know you had some investment from your nan, and she's still involved. She drew a winner just the other day for some stuff, which I love. But when was that kind of shift of, "Oh, this is going to be the job. This is what we're doing."
It was probably about 2 years in. Well, actually, yeah, a year. I would say a year in. We started partnering with all creators and influencers to ultimately build their own kind of collections. I'd started by solving my own problem. I wanted to start it to solve other people's problem, and I was like, how can I do this on a mass scale? That one, I've got no marketing budget. I don't have investment. I was funding the brand myself. I was still working full time. And so I need to be able to grow the business and also grow the community. And actually doing that, I want to be solving these problems. And I was like, how can I do that on a bigger scale? Well, I can find influencers and creators that also share the same problems as I do, that have this need for clothing that fits them properly. And so I stumbled across a number of different influencers that are still with me today. And one of the first collections that we did was an influencer called Scarlett's World. And at the time, Scarlett has a page called I Am Size Me, which I'd followed for quite a long period of time. Before speaking to her. And basically, it was about buying the size that fits you. It didn't matter if you were, a size 10, a size 12, anything, a size 14, 16, 22, 26, but what it said on the label, it didn't matter. If it fitted and you liked the way it fitted and you were buying, a size 8 was buying a size 14 because they wanted an oversized fit or vice versa. It did not matter. Just don't worry about the size that's on in the shop because one, they're all different. You can go to one shop and get one size and go to another shop and get another size completely different. And actually, when you lay them next to each other, they're exactly the same. Which is just bonkers because everyone uses their own size, way, don't they? So it was about basically sharing that message that it doesn't matter. You can go into the shops and buy a size that you like the way it looks. And I really, really loved that because I was just like, that is so true. We care so much about that kind of size, and we shouldn't because it doesn't define us, and it doesn't. Like I said, you could be one in one shop and one in another. Who makes these rules? Well, so for me that was a lovely message. And so when I outreached Scarlett the first time, she started do it. I said, oh, can I give you some stuff? She was going to the gym, and I think the first set that I sent her was a pink set that we were doing. So this was maybe that was Chelsea's collection, and so that would have been maybe our fourth collection of the brand. And yeah, we gifted it to Scarlett. She absolutely loved it, posted it about it, and kind of went from there. And I then had a conversation with her maybe 6 months later to say, would you have you got any problems that you want solving, and would you like to create a collection? And she did. And honestly, I remember logging onto the website. I was sat on my floor of my living room at the time. I was in my pajamas, and I remember just Jake, my husband, was sat behind me, and I just sat in front of the TV. I had my laptop on. I think it was probably the oldest laptop ever, and there's 400 people on the website. I honestly couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, it's sold out. It was selling out within minutes, and then the website was going wild, and I was just, I couldn't believe it. So I think probably at that point, I was like, yes, I've got something here. Obviously, I'm not the only person that's having this problem. I just need to get the message out there and get the brand known, because without having any money really, because I didn't have any, because I was funding it myself. And my nan, bless her, that gave me the £4,000 loan. So, So yeah, that was probably the moment for me that really changed the game. And we still work with Scarlett now. She's absolutely incredible. And yeah, it's just amazing, that journey.
And it's funny that you can recall that moment where it kinda clicks up and it's, "Okay, this is gonna be worth the risk." Like, to take this leap and do this thing and the return is there and there's a need for it, and that's super validating. So we mentioned that there is, this set of folks that have felt very unrepresented, and whether that be from a how I look, the color of my skin, my disabilities or abilities, those kind of things. Have you ever been challenged during this way of, well, I don't feel like I'm seen or that I've been considered. So, and it comes to mind when you're talking about these problems to solve, right? So, what
Yeah.
are some of the problems that you can think of that it's like, well, I never even thought of that? So, more of a way of how can we expand into something that hasn't been thought of yet? And I know the swimsuit that came out was one that I remember thinking and going, oh, they're actually thinking about how can we look sexy and functional and all these things. But anything along those lines where it's been a new problem that just kind of is, oh, I don't even know how we'll solve that, but
Yeah, I think there's been a number, to be honest. I think because ultimately we're in an industry, activewear and athleisure is booming, isn't it? So there's
Mhm.
only so many things that you can do that's different to your competitor. For us, it's more about the community, the problem solution products that we have in comparison to, other brands. And for me, I suppose it was about finding those really niche kind of problems. Probably one of the biggest things for me personally has been the coat. Now, I talk about this because I can't tell you how many years I spent freezing because I didn't want to wear a coat because I felt like it drowned me. And I would just end up putting on a little loose jacket, but I would be so cold. Um, and I didn't feel confident in anything. And I would put coats on and I'd look at myself and I'd think, why isn't there something that truly makes me feel great in a outerwear piece that keeps me warm, that, shows off my curves, and that ultimately gives me the confidence to want to wear it and then ultimately keep me warm as well. So it's functional. So I think that for me has been one of my personal real kind of problems that I've loved solving with our Contour Longline Coat is because by creating a jacket that ultimately is so versatile and so wearable, has so many different features for the wearer. So little things in the garment that probably, you know, you wouldn't think about that it has. You've got side zips you've got a double ended zip so you can wear it, you can get in and out of the car really easily. For the girls in the wheelchairs, this was really important when we did the feedback because when they're sat down, they want to be able to have a long line coat, but a lot of coats that don't have a double way zip, they can't because they're sat down and they can't obviously unzip it, so it becomes too uncomfortable for them to wear. So it's little things like that, little features of the design and the product that have been really thought about for kind of as many people as possible. And the coat for me was really that, and solving that problem of creating a piece that cinches your waist, it shows your curves, it is not too thick that you feel really puffy. And I always refer to looking like the Michelin Man in the jacket because I feel like, when I've put on puffer coats that are really, really big, I'm like, oh God, you can just see my head. And I'm quite short as well. So you find a lot of puffer jackets are too long. And like I said, I couldn't get in and out the car in one. And little things like that I really just wanted to solve. And yeah, that has been such an incredible piece that has really, I would say, taken the brand to the next level. We sold thousands last year and it was just incredible, and the feedback on it as well has been second to none. The amount of messages that I receive saying, I can't thank you enough for creating this piece. And, I see all of those messages and I read them and they give me goosebumps because that's how I feel. And so, yeah, there's no really way that you can describe that.
Well, and I'm one of those people. I think the longest coat I ever wore barely went over my butt because I'm bottom heavy. I was a gymnast for years when I was much younger. It's just how I'm proportioned. And I was nervous to buy it. I was just like, nothing's ever worked. I don't know about this. But after seeing kind of the way that everyone tried it on and all those type of things, we got it and I put it on and this is amazing. And I wore it all winter. It was freezing in Pennsylvania all winter. And it's just as you said, I could get in and out of the car. You did the side zips. We walked down to town at one point to see the Christmas tree lighting. And I never realized how cold my legs were until they weren't cold
Mm.
anymore because there was
I
actually a
know.
long jacket. So, as we mentioned, kind of some of these expansion things, I've also heard, and I'm curious if you've encountered this, that when you go to those expanded sizes, or obviously when you add some of these functional pieces to it, the cost goes up. And so folks have said, well, it's not cost effective for us to offer expanded sizing because it's more fabric, it's different, approaches. Is that something that you've had to navigate through or kind of understand how to manage? Is it more of a here's what our inventory might look like in order to balance that out? But when you look at that kind of going up or down, but more up, what have been those logistical pieces that you've experienced?
Yes, that is true. It does increase the cost, and it always has, because when we started, we sized up. I think it was a 2X our first collection, and then we increased it to 3, and we're looking at 4 at the moment. Um, there are increasing costs because there are more. It is more fabric now. That's non-negotiable for me. I'm not just gonna not do it because of that reason. And I think there's this whole thing around, "Oh, well, it increases the prices," and I just think that that's rubbish in my opinion. Yes, but just split that across, the rest of the products and ensure that ultimately, everything else is covered in within that. It is doable. And even as a small business, what's frustrates me the most is that, you know, I haven't had any backing, big backing at the start when I started. Yes, we've had investment since then, but when I started, I didn't, and I still managed to do it. It's about whether or not it's a priority for that business, and that's fine if it isn't, but be open about it. And I think it's just having that clarity. We've not been able to do it overnight, and I think I quite often get comments saying, "Well, you don't size up to a 38 or that high," and I think it's got to come in good time. For us, I focused on sizing up to 3X. We're now moving up to 4X. But before that, I wanted to offer petite and long length options. And so it's about trying to find inclusivity, not just on size, it's about every way that we look at being inclusive. And I think that that's really, really important. So yes, as a small business, it does take us a little bit longer to get there because we don't have the funds of the big activewear brands, but it's top list priority for us versus being bottom of the bag for everyone else. And so for me, it's super, super important. And with regards to different products, there are products that don't always work on every single body. So when it comes to that, we will either make a decision to go ahead with it or we might do it differently. So, for example, we've got one product at the moment where we've had to change the strap for the bigger sizes versus the smaller sizes because I felt that the strap was too small for someone who had a larger chest like myself. I personally wanted a thicker strap, but we knew that the girls from the feedback on the smaller sizes actually really liked the dainty strap. And would have preferred that. So we've made a call that we're going to split the production. It's the same product, but there's just small tweaks that enable it to ultimately fit more sizes. And that's quite common. I think in lingerie especially, you have some bras that look a certain way that's the same bra, it's the same lace, it's the same color, but there's just little small tweaks within the design that give the option for someone who's got bigger boobs to wear it and smaller boobs to wear it. And I think, that's the type of things that we're doing that not every brand is doing.
So you mentioned a little hint of petite and long, and I know that's coming up right when we launch this episode. Will be around to launch. We'll talk about right at the wrap up. But when you announced that and kind of teased it, you mentioned that that part of that was actually going to the production site, and you shared your journey to China to see where your clothes are made, to meet those people, which fascinating. I've never seen anyone else do that and kind of share that exploration. So how was that negotiation? Because, you just mentioned some of these things might not have been possible had you not gone in there and been, hey, let's talk for a minute. Let's make this happen. What's the deal? But how did that come about?
I feel like I've had to spend the last 5 years proving myself to a lot of people. And I don't mind that, I'm always up for a challenge and I've had to do that. But there's things that, and I think I hadn't thought about it previously, that just by putting yourself and showing the reasoning behind why you were asking for that was so important, that it actually makes people think and go, "Oh, I'm going to give you a chance." So, yeah, so to give you an example, um with petite and long options, obviously we currently have 7 sizes across the board. Then to add every single leg length ultimately in most of our products was quite difficult based on the amounts that we order. We have a minimum order quantities that we have to hit normally per size, per leg length, per color, because everything is made from scratch. Um, and how it goes down the production line, if they don't have enough of each kind of variant and variable, it's not worth them setting up the machine. The cost is obviously higher. But I basically sat down with the factory. I gave them a presentation of the business and where we were going, what we were doing, our community. And I showed them the feedback of people asking me for it. And I was like, look at this. So many people are asking me for this. Um, can we please just get to a point, even if we have to pay a little bit more to cover the cost to be able to do that? Because we couldn't afford to be ordering, thousands and thousands of long and thousands of petite of every single product, because we just wouldn't sell them. We don't currently have that demand there yet. So it's about getting them to work with us in our growth journey so that, yes, when we do have thousands and thousands, they're going to be the ones that are getting those orders. And ultimately it was about almost just getting them to believe in me, and the team. And so yeah, that was what I did, and managed to get them to sign it off and say yes. Like I said, it does incur slight extra charges for that. So you are right from that perspective, but for me, absolute no-brainer.
And you mentioned the importance of that feedback. And I think there are times where maybe either we're really excited, so we only share our positive feedback, or you're just really upset and you're just like, man, this doesn't have such and such with it. What are ways that customers or consumers or people that want to purchase can share feedback with brands like yours or with others? So, there's always the reviews on the website, but are there other pathways that that information, at least for J.Luxe, can make its way to kind of that little design room so that
Yeah,
you're
no,
able to consider it?
definitely. So joining our group chat on social media is a good way, because you can respond to my messages and the team's messages within there about absolutely anything. Messaging us directly on socials, or even emailing our info at jluxefit.co.uk. All of those things, if they're product related, get back to the team. We only have one customer service lady, and so she is really great at organizing that and ensure it gets back to us and me. And quite often, if you do send a DM, probably 50% chance that it's me who reads it. Because although I shouldn't be, I do go on there and look through and, respond. And I think people know when it's me that responds, because even though the girls speak, the way that I do, and we're all kind of, it's very bestie energy here. There's definitely, when I see stuff, and if I can, I just will respond. I can't not. I find it very difficult.
Well, and it does. Everyone's very much, from my experience of seeing the emails come in, of seeing that kind of stuff, has the same tone, which is just an authentic, very feel to it. And you've also got an amazing community of ambassadors, not just huge, big name social media people, but everyday people that have a core set of friends, right? that are just like, "What are you wearing?" and getting engaged in that. And I think that's been really beautiful to see. But what are some of the ways that, you mentioned the online group. Are there specific things that you look for with ambassadors or with people that you engage with? Or is it really just, if you're motivated, we want to see you?
Yeah,
At least.
precisely that. Yeah, it is. It is simply just, um, if you want to share your journey and your outfits and you're open to that, then that's what we look for. There's no kind of, tick list or what have you. It's just a case of, you know, if you'd like to become an ambassador for J.Luxe and you love, creating content and you're open to sharing it with your friends, we have a number of different kind of, ambassadors. Some are kind of PTs, some people are just normal people that share outfits, some people are sports people. There's a number of different type of kind of ambassadors. And I think for me it's about having as many women as part of our tribe as possible. And there's, like I said, there's no you have to have this, you have to have that, because that's not what we're about at all in any way.
So during this journey that you've gone through, have there been times where you've questioned decisions you've made or things that have felt that wasn't nearly as successful as I thought it might be? What because we live in a world where imposter syndrome is very present for so many folks and questioning and second guessing and being like, okay, did I make the right choice to go this route? Have you encountered that? I know you've got a super supportive husband. How has that village around you helped be a part of that process of keep with it? We're gonna keep going.
Yeah, I think many times, to be honest. I can't tell you how many times I felt like giving up, because it's a really hard industry. It's so tough, and I'm open about that, on my socials, and I'm always kind of open that it's not easy. And there is a lot of competition, and there's a lot of stress that comes with decision making, especially with things that are very much out of your control. And I suppose I've come very, very resilient to making decisions quickly and acting on plan Bs a lot of the time. So with every single collection, there's generally a plan B should something happen. Um, and we're constantly navigating those things, and the support around me has been phenomenal. I actually have had business coaches throughout my journey. I have mentors, and I think if you are a small business owner or a business owner that's starting out, or not even, or on your journey, and you don't have a mentor or a coach, I would highly encourage that, because it's something and someone to turn to just get stuff off your chest. Even if they're not giving you any advice at all, they're simply just, hearing you. That's all. Sometimes that's just all you need, because for me, especially as a solo founder, I think it's sometimes different. And I think people will always say to me, when they have a co-founder, they're like, I don't know how you do it, being a solo founder, how do you take all of that pressure on? And, yes, there have been times where I've been up all night, anxious, panic attacks, wondering whether the photo shoot samples are going to come in for tomorrow's launch, because they're stuck in the air and they haven't arrived yet. And I remember on our Glasgow shoot, I was about to give birth. I couldn't fly to Glasgow, and we were shooting 4 collections. We had um, a team of girls going out there. The collection had to be delivered to the DHL site there, because it didn't arrive with us in time, and it literally arrived there on the morning of the shoot, and they had to get off their plane, go straight there, pick it up. And it's just little things that I suppose that you probably don't see, that goes on behind the scenes, which can have a massive impact. For a small business, campaigns can be quite expensive for us, and so if something goes wrong, it can be really damaging. And so yeah, there's been a lot of cases we've had faulty stock come in, and I've had to reject it, and then we've had no product for 2-3 months. I think that back in the day, like a year ago, was a lot more harmful to us than where it is now, because we have a lot of more backup options and we have more regular collections coming in, because I've managed to, I've got a team in place now, which actually help me and support me and ensure that, we've got all of those things sorted. I had no experience, so I was just doing stuff based on what I knew and learned.
Well, and your life looks a little different now than it did 5 years ago, 6 years ago when you started. You mentioned you're the mom of a 5-month-old. I feel like you didn't take any time off. I'm pretty sure you mentioned you were in the hospital in labor and still checking some things online. How has that balance shifted, or has it changed any of your approaches or pushed you to delegate a little bit more? Because now you've got a little bit of a different priority, kind of, latched on there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I had to hire. It pushed me to hire people that I probably couldn't afford to hire at the time. But honestly, that was the best business decision I'd ever made. And I probably the best thing that could have happened, if I'm honest, because, you know, now we're like 5 steps ahead of where we were previously. I've got the support that I would cry to my business coach and be like, "I'll be fine when I get support. I just need more people, more time, but we can't afford it." Because it was hard. It was really, really hard, and so it's balancing that, and it literally gave me no choice. I was like, if I don't hire, then I'm gonna have no business. So, yeah, I did, and like I said, it was the best decision that I could have made, and from that, we've been able to, hire more people as well now. And so I think it's important to realize that you can't do everything alone. You're going to get to a stage where you kind of have to. And I probably left it far too long. So if I can give any piece of advice is, yes, it will feel scary and you probably feel like you won't be able to do it, but do it and then see what happens. Um, I would say life looks different because, I can't work. I used to work 80 hours a week, and I'm not lying to you when I say that. It was hard graft. I would wake up from 4, 5 some days. I'd be still up at midnight working, and then I'd wake up during the night because I'd probably be thinking about something else. I'd have my notepad there. I'd be writing it down, and that was the standard for me. I couldn't switch off. My friends would be like, if I went out on the weekends, I wouldn't really be I'd be present, but I wouldn't be mentally there because I'd have so much overwhelm of things and the messages coming in and trying to, if people look at my phone and laugh when they see it because I've got 700 unread messages. Um, so it's not easy and it's very different now, but my priorities have changed from the fact that, I have set hours at work. I didn't take any maternity. I took a couple of weeks off, I think 6 weeks in total. But yes, the day right up until I gave birth, I was literally on a Zoom call when they said we're taking you down now to the design team. So, yeah, I love it. Can't not. It's so hard. Like, I don't even want to take time off. I'd be here longer if I could. But one thing I have now prioritized is myself, spending time with Blake, my family, and just having a bit more of a work-life balance, which I really, really needed because, yeah, I was definitely a little bit burnt out.
Yeah. Well, and the launch that's coming up right around this release, you've kind of mentioned it's a little bit of for you. So the very first few when you started in 2020 were for you, solving problems for you, and now it's kind of chapter 2, Jordan. And what is coming up in this launch? What are some of the pieces to look forward to, and what are the problems that this one was solving for you that you have kind of had detected over time that you're like, yep, now it's time. There's a new solution to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think for this launch, I was pregnant when we were designing it, and I was like, girls, I want to create a collection that ultimately takes us from day to night, every single day, every single activity. And it can be so versatile that every single piece in the collection can be worn in so many different ways. And there's a piece for absolutely everyone. So not everyone's going to potentially buy the whole collection. I mean, there will be girls that do buy the whole collection, which is incredible. But even if there's just one piece that someone buys, it they want it because of that problem that it solves. And I think some of the pieces aren't new pieces, but they've been elevated. Some are brand new pieces. Now, you've had a bit of a sneak of some of the collection in Valentine's because we had a bit of a disaster. Half of our Valentine's collection didn't actually get to us. So what we ended up having to see, these are the pivots that we have to make. And I'm being open and honest. And I actually haven't talked about this online, but half of our Valentine's collection didn't actually make it to us. So we ended up bringing this collection because we have everything come over by boat now. We're quite in advance, thank God. We This collection was ready to leave, and it had the color. The whole point was that there was 3 colors of this new collection, and one of the colors was to match some of the stuff in Valentine's because it was the wine, and it's one of my favorite colors. So that was why it was in the collection. But I was like, we've got, what we can do is we can bring that forwards and bring it into the Valentine's because it's ready, it's about to leave, we'll just air it in, and obviously the rest of this collection will come by boat. So some of the pieces you've already had a bit of a sneak peek to because they've been put into Valentine's, and obviously those have already launched. So some of the pieces I'll talk about are I think for me, the double way top, which you spoke about earlier, the reversible vest top. Now, we actually brought a similar version out with Scarlett in 2021. She came to me and she said, listen, I love a basics Zara vest. She was like, but the length on they kind of have an underlayer. Um, and it's not that it has a support, it's just double layer, so it wasn't see-through. And she said, they don't cover my boobs, and I don't have any support in these vests, but I also can't wear a bra with them. And also they're a bodysuit, not like a vest. And there was all these problems. And I thought, well, is it really J.Luxe? Like, we were quite active and not really lifestyle focused back then. And I was like, okay, let's create a basics. It was called Basics Collection. A basics collection of pieces that people are going to wear day to day, can wear them for work, can wear them for active, can wear them for yoga, what have you. And one of the products was the reversible vest. And what I really liked about that was that I don't just want to bring a basic vest. I want it to be so you can wear it multiple ways. You're buying into a product that ultimately is going to be more expensive than going to your supermarket and buying a vest top, for example. And 2, I want to solve this problem of not having to wear a bra underneath. So what we did is we took your kind of basic vest and we made a much more, I would say, technical vest in a really supportive sweat wicking fabric. So when you were wearing it, it was, yes, a little bit thicker, but it was still really moisture wicking. 2, it had a built-in bra shelf, and the first one didn't actually have removable pads. It just had the built-in bra shelf, because at the time I didn't think about being able to take the pads out of one size and put it into the other, which I'll come on to obviously for this one. And it just had kind of a scoop each side. One was lower, one was higher. You could flip it round. And everyone, I can't tell you how many times people asked me to bring that back. I would get messages on the daily saying, this is my favorite top. I wear it for absolutely everything. Please bring it back. And I was the same. I have got 4 of those still in my drawer now, which I wore throughout my pregnancy. I mean, they've been stretched to absolute death because I think they're size small, and I was an XL when I was pregnant. So I was squeezing into them because they're just so versatile and so easy to wear. We brought out a long sleeve version as well. Sorry, I'm going on about it, but honestly, it's the most wearable piece I think we've ever done, I think. So I was like, this is a piece that I knew I needed in this founder edit, but I really wanted to switch it up, solve more problems, and ultimately make it even better. So with the new one we've got, it's now called the reversible sweetheart tank. So I wanted to create more of an elevated front neck drop to give that was really elegant, really elevated, something that you felt really sexy in, you felt cute. There's a little bit of cleavage, but not too much cleavage. And then obviously being able to wear it high neck, which personally is my favorite because I love a high neck. but still when you're wearing it high neck and you're turning it round, have the ability to have the boob support, you know. I've obviously now had a baby and those ladies need a lift. So I was like, I know that I'm gonna need pads in there. And so yeah, we that's one of the pieces that is in this collection. And I think that's probably one of my favorites. And you know, that's been launched within Valentine's in wine. But yeah, the new collection features that in 2 new colours. And then other products ultimately that are in the collection is very much based around this kind of wearing it to work, but also wearing it for working out. And so you can mix and match the products to be able to do that. And there's waist my little waist cinching technology where I've created products that really truly flatter, in my opinion, every single body shape. And they have options to wear them longer for the ladies that want a bit more coverage. There's options to wear it slightly more cropped, where if you want to, you know, do that as well. And I think that for me is really important because not only thinking about a collection that one can take you from day to night, literally your whole day, but also thinking about the people that are going to want something that has more coverage and less coverage, and how can you do that within one garment? Um, so yeah, there's a lot of new tops that ultimately do that. And then fabric wise, you know, my favorite fabric that we've done is our kind of ultra soft form fabric, which is our recycled fabric. And we've got more fabrics coming this year, which I can't wait to introduce. But this fabric for me is so versatile. It's so easy wearing. When I was pregnant, I lived in it because it was so soft. And so I picked this fabric to do a majority of the activewear kind of pieces in this collection because I felt that, you know, people were saying to us, we really want that kind of in between that's not super supportive, that it's going to be painful when you're sat down for long periods of time, but that you can still wear to work out in and they're not going to fall down. And so we've really focused in this collection on the fit, about what we can do from a fit perspective to ensure those things don't happen. And so it's having the super soft waistbands, it's having the seams in the right places so they don't dig in, it's thinking about the elastic in the bras to ensure it's the right size. So yeah, there's a lot of pieces in this collection that ultimately, I think it's 18 pieces. Yeah, are gonna truly, well, I hope that everyone loves. And yeah, hopefully I mean, I'm not giving too much away.
No. Well, and by the time we release this, hopefully everyone's seen
Yeah, of
what
course.
you've already
Yeah.
shared. So, but I have to just, it was funny. One of the very first pieces I got from you, and I remember it was the first share that J.Luxe did because I pulled everything out and I had an old bra pad from one shirt
Yes,
next
I
to the
remember that.
J.Luxe bra pad, and I was just like, look, it's more than a nipple cover. And I think anyone listening to this that's over a size probably C the first thing you do is you rip the pads out and you toss them and you're like, what am I going to do with this? I'm adding to the landfill. And I still have every bra pad in my J.Luxe tops because they are actually the size that works. And so it doesn't look like you've got a Madonna chest that's pointed because it's just these little, pieces,
Oh,
or they're
yeah.
slit up or down or around. And, it's those little things, those little touches you just mentioned, the elastic, the feel. Is this irritating me as the day goes on? And the answer is really no in most of those cases. And the beauty is that if it does, you've already talked about the pathways to let us know. Let us know, oh, that digs in a little too hard. Or, hey, this has a seam somewhere. I remember I got a bra from another place that it literally, the plastic on one of the pieces, you could tell on production, the quality might have got missed. And so it itched constantly. And you were just like this
Mhm.
the whole time. So it's those pieces, things that make a brand comfortable, that make it wearable, that make return customers in the long run. So as we kind of get to wrap up phase, there's just two last things I want to touch on. One is your involvement in the community. You had just International Women's Day. You do things with your community that's really beautiful. And do you find that has made that you get new customers and clients out of that? Or is it something that just is a little more rewarding for people that already know you, or a mix of both?
We say a mix of both, to be honest, because generally, um, we have girls that come religiously every single time, and it's absolutely incredible. And we host, VIP events for our VIP customers, and there's incredible things that we're doing, for J.Luxe customers. And then we meet new people that have never been to events. We had 4 ladies who I'd never met, not just 4 at the hike that we did, but there was 4 ladies that I got chatting to, and I tend to make my way through. I try to chat to everyone at events as much as I can possibly. I know I seem quite confident and online, and I am a confident person, but when you're trying to mingle through everyone, it can be quite difficult and overwhelming for me, sometimes, because I can't quite believe it that all of these people are at my event, and I'm like, wow. And I always generally take my mum, bless her. She comes along to so much to support me, and I think, gosh, it's just incredible the support that they give me, and I can't really believe it thinking about it, to be honest. But um, it's for everyone. It absolutely is. I've met new faces. Like I said, I was speaking to these 4 ladies, and it was just incredible. They'd been purchasing from J.Luxe for quite a long time. They weren't that a million miles away from us. I'd never really seen them because they hadn't come to an event previously. But I knew their names because I recognized their orders. And I was like, wow, this is just amazing meeting you and seeing you. And I think, like, then when we collaborate, so we collaborated with She Hikes, which is another local female founded brand, which do incredible hikes around, like, the country. I say country, yeah, country, not worldwide. Although I hope that they will do one day, do trips as well. That would be fun. But, like, so there was girls that from their community, and then, we meeting people through there. So I think it's really nice to be able to, like, try and help every single woman out, and other female founded businesses. For me, I love that. I love coming together with other brands and doing things. You get to meet new people, and yeah, so it really is for everyone. You get a mixture of new, a mixture of people who've known about the brand for ages. And for me, I love doing stuff for the people that, support me. That means the world to me, because without our community, we're nothing. And so, yeah, that to me is so, so important.
Well, and if any of this today has resonated with listeners, and I have listeners in New Zealand and England where there were the new 2 kind of groups that tapped in. But
Amazing.
for those in the US too, J.Luxe ships to the US. This is a J.Luxe fleece. So definitely something that is available. But where can people find information? Websites, socials? How do they, find out what's coming up next and when the new releases are?
Yeah, so our website is www.jluxefit.co.uk or .com. You can find us online. You can find us on social media at @jlux_official. Same on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, that's kind of where we're based. So yeah, that's how you find us.
And I am just so excited to see kind of how J.Luxe continues to grow. Anything crazy that we should kind of just have our excitement up for this year? Because I know you plan the whole year in advance. So any little snippet that we can get?
I'm gonna say there's 2, actually. Well, they're both kind of at similar times, but autumn winter 2026 really, really excites me. There's this very special collection that's really close to my heart. And then there's also something that has been asked for ages, is pattern. And I've always been quite like, oh, this is a customer that wants, if there's a customer that wants pattern, it scares me, because I'm like, I don't know if there's going to be enough customers to warrant doing it. You've got to really know your customers well to offer patterns in especially, if you've never done it before. We've never done it before. I don't know, but it's something that bri- kept got, I can't even get my words out. People kept asking for it, basically, and ultimately I was like, "Right, now is the time." But when I say it's been incorporated into so many pieces in versatile ways, it is so cute and just so elegant and just unreal. And so, yeah, can't wait for that. Which is weird, because if you'd asked me that a year ago, I would have said there's no chance that we're going to be doing patterns yet.
Well,
So
it
that
just goes to show how quick you can kind of get confident in something that maybe was a little intimidating at first. And I'm just so appreciative again, Jordan, for your time today coming on and recording this out of your busy schedule with everything you've got going on. And I personally am, again, biased because I love being part of this community. I love being part of the conversation and having the chance to give that feedback and be a part of that. And everyone can be. So, again, the inclusivity is there no matter what. So, Jordan, any final comments, thoughts, anything you want to share as we wrap up and let people go check the website out, because there's a launch that's probably live right now while they're listening to this.
We must get a US event hosted. That was what I was thinking. We must chat about that. That would be amazing. We should co-host something.
Love
Let's
to.
talk about that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, anything, check the website out, check the launch. Hope you love it. It's a founder edit, my own edit with the brand, and something we've been truly working on for absolutely ages. But I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. I loved speaking to you, and thank you for being a part of our amazing community.
Thanks, Jordan. And thanks, everyone, for listening. Check the show notes for all the links, all the information that you could want. Do the like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. But most importantly, go check out J.Luxe.Fit. If you are a woman who has just felt like, I can't find that thing that I need, odds are there might be a solution sitting in Jordan's collections. So thank you again, and we will talk soon, guys.